Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. This week, I am actually going to do something that I usually don't do, and that is that I have gathered a good chunk of Sync Academy members together with me for an online Zoom call, and we're basically going to just talk about Sync Psych 101, which is the newest series of tutorials that I've released in the Sync Academy platform. The reason why we're doing this is because, well, first of all, I'll be honest, I'm a little bit selfish here, and I just think this stuff is so interesting and so fascinating, and I actually do think it's probably the most important part of what I do as an educator. And I'm sort of kicking myself in the butt for not focusing more on psychological stuff earlier on in my educational platform, but it is what it is. Here I am 4 years into it now, kind of giving this stuff more light of day and more attention. And the reason being is I think the psychology of whether or not you believe you're going to succeed makes pretty much all the difference for your career. So you can have all the technical knowledge, you can know about sync licensing, how the industry works, how to craft your tracks, how to mix and master, how to partner with libraries, check on your registrations, serve their needs, deal with briefs, right? All these technical aspects and technical skills, you definitely need to have all those. But in the back of your mind, if you have this really debilitating negative belief that you probably won't succeed, or maybe it's just going to take too long, or you don't know if you have what it takes, it doesn't matter that you have all those technical skills, because that limiting belief in the background of your life, that story that you're telling yourself, will always sabotage you. It'll always take you down. And maybe you'll get through a couple of months of your career and think that you're doing okay, but at some point that limiting belief will come in. Like you get, let's say, you get rejected by a library, or you get a disappointing royalty check, or you just don't get the gig that you had submitted to. Well, then that confirmation bias shows up, and this story that says, see, I told you, you don't belong in this business, you're not going to succeed. And that's usually what a lot of people fall victim to. And they just listen to that. They don't know that they have a choice to get out of that. And then that's the end of their career. They just walk away. And it's just so sad to see that happen over and over again, when it's like, you know, you had great music, you had great talent, you had great work ethic, you had the patience, you had the knowledge, you had everything going for you. But there was this psychological block that was just not letting people get through. And if you don't think this is true, I think everybody joining me in this chat, you guys probably are aware that this is true, but go talk to any nurse or doctor in a hospital and ask them how much a mindset makes a difference in terms of whether somebody's going to recover from even sometimes a deadly illness, something that could actually kill somebody. Having a belief that they have something to live for, that they have family members that care about them, that they feel positive about it, it really makes all the difference for most of those people that are in the hospital. Go talk to any doctor or nurse that's been in those situations. They'll tell you the exact same thing. And I'm always surprised, how come they don't have that in hospitals? How come they don't have like a mindset coach that goes around to every single, maybe they do. I know they have therapy services, but specifically somebody that helps you with your psychology, that help you kind of move forward with that. Maybe they do, but it doesn't seem like it's something that's very common that I'm aware of. So it's really, really important how you think about yourself, how you think about your career. So how I want to start this conversation with all of you guys that are joining me here is, let's start off with some of your struggles, maybe some of your questions, some of your uncertainties. Now that those of you who have joined me here, you've watched some of these tutorials, what have you been noticing that has been some of your sticking points, or maybe something you realize, wow, I was not aware that this was a limiting belief that I've been carrying around with me all this time. Or maybe there's something you're actually struggling with now that you maybe need a little bit of help and kind of some advice on how to get through. We'll hopefully be able to get you to do that. But that's kind of what I want to start this conversation off. So anybody who'd like to start, just go ahead and unmute yourself. Let us see who you are. And of course, please give us your first name, just so we know who we can address. You know, some of your usernames, I don't see exactly your first name, so please do that. Anybody who'd like to start, go ahead. First come, first serve.
Hey, Jesse. This is John. I've gone through the entire Sync 101 tutorial, and it's awesome, by the way. I really appreciate it. But a couple of the things that I struggled with going into it was the waiting, like how long things take. I mean, people tell you it takes a long time to hear back from a library, or it takes a long time before, even once you get a track in the library, it actually gets placed, or it takes a long time before, once it's even broadcast, you see your royalties. But man, I had no idea what they meant when they said a long time. I thought I had, I thought I understood what a long time was, but the waiting is the hardest part, like Tom Petty says. And, being able to shift your mindset by using some of the practices, the positive visualization. That's one thing that I never did prior to watching that, and trying to just stay in a positive mindset has really, really helped me. But I don't know if you have any other insights on dealing with the waiting.
Yeah, toughest part, man. One of the toughest part of the whole business right there is the waiting. And in that tutorial, for the, waiting for the damn royalties tutorial that we put out, one of the biggest concepts that always helped me, at least in those early phases, was realizing that because it's such a long period to get there, I saw it as a benefit for me, because what I saw was that, okay, if it takes this long to get into this business, to actually do this full time, how many other people have the patience to wait that long, right? Small little number of people actually can do it. So for me, I saw it as actually job security, because I thought, that's the biggest question I get from a lot of people. Aren't there tons and tons of people getting involved? And isn't this business oversaturated? And aren't there too many people getting into it? In the beginning, it might feel that way because there's a lot of people. Obviously, in Sync Academy, there's, we have over 1,000 members. We have a lot of people here, and I'm, just one little corner of the internet. There's a lot of people getting into this business, but let's go ahead and look at that waiting period. How many people are willing to not only wait that long, but work continuously throughout that long period? Very, very few. So it is a price. That is a price you do have to pay, right? So that's a sacrifice. That's a risk you have to take. That is a long-term endurance test, essentially, of yourself. But the way that I always saw it as a positive thing, not a negative thing, is that I said, well, if it's going to take me this long to get to job security in terms of having secure relationships with libraries, ongoing income, royalties, that kind of thing, well, I know that behind me, there's probably not going to be a long line of people coming to take my place, because that is just, most people just can't get through that. So if that helps you, I basically just reframed it in terms of job security rather than this just long trek in front of me that's just, oh, it's so hard. I saw it as like, wow, if I can just get through this, I'm going to be doing something that 99% of producers and human beings really just can't do. I don't even think this is a musician thing. This is just a human being thing. Ask somebody to work on a project for 2 years without a paycheck. Find somebody that'll be willing to do that, right? It is like, if you can do that, you're kind of proving to yourself that you do have an entrepreneurial mind, because entrepreneurs are able to take that kind of a risk. Usually people are not willing to build something up for years and years and years to finally see the fruits of their labor. They want the paycheck. Most people just want the paycheck because they gotta pay bills, which I understand. We do have to pay bills. But if you can do this on the side of your main day job and you see that as job security, then it becomes more of it can become a motivating factor. So, but again, that's all about practicing that, kind of viewing it in a different way. So I guess for that one, I'm talking about framing, kind of reframing how you look at it. So hopefully that helps, man.
Yeah, no, definitely. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, John. I appreciate that, man. Anybody else? Anybody else would like to share some struggles, frustrations, questions, anything like that? Please don't be shy. Speak on up.
Yeah, Alexander. Essentially, I always find that if I keep saying, I usually just kind of say a mantra, like remind yourself to just practice patience, because that is essentially the name of the game. It's kind of like you're going and you're creating out of a internal experience, and then you're trying to put it out into the world, and so you never know how it's going to be received. So if you really take the time to just kind of practice patience with how everything can unfold, then you're going to have a much more positive experience and outlook with how your music gets received when it does. So, and that's how I've kind of continued the patience game, and just waited to see what ASCAP or BMI. I'm still with ASCAP, but choosing that idea of now it's kind of in their hands when it does get placed, and you're waiting on them, so you're practicing more patience. So yeah, definitely that's the name of the game for me.
That's awesome, man. It's one of the big actual benefits of sync licensing is that it teaches you so much patience, because now in my life, if I want to start a new project, I now know what patience really means, right? A lot of people think they know what patience means, but not until you've done sync licensing, you really know what that is. So it's one of those great benefits that you're going to get, like kind of a skill set essentially that you bring with you long into the future, and that's kind of one of those concepts we talked about in the, am I wasting my time with this industry? It's like, not at all, because the skills and the mindset and the sort of discipline that you have to really become a player in this business is like, it makes you a superhero. I mean, you really can go through some crazy, awesome opportunities later in your life just by going through this business. It's really cool. Alexander, I wanted to ask you, had you had any exposure to mindset training, positive thinking? What was your sort of history before Sync Psych? How much of this stuff were you already using?
Yeah, so I follow, it's called Energetic Development. If you go to energeticdevelopment.com, or the Sensology Institute here in Michigan, and I've been doing that since 2014, 15. So it's essentially working on your own energetic development. So if you really focus on the idea that you're just a form of energy that's going, then you can actually really shift your awareness towards what your essence wants to create and how, and it really motivates your day and shifts you into a much greater awareness.
Can you share with us some of your sort of daily practices? What are the things you kind of do most times to kind of keep yourself in that state?
Yes. So essentially I wake up at around 4 a.m. every morning, and I just, my vice for getting into the world or starting with new creation is just making my own breakfast. And I really focus on like the proper nutrient intake and really achieving that health benefit of focusing more of, like they say, it's like a keto balanced lifestyle, but I say more fat based, because I have a really deep addiction with sugar, or I used to. It comes and goes depending. It's all just food trauma. And then I sit and do a focus work. It's just internal focus practice. Sometimes that can be anywhere between 15 and 30 minutes. And then I cook. After finishing cooking my food, I make coffee, your favorite. And I actually put different herbs and supplements inside the coffee, like maca is really kind of makes your coffee butterscotchy, and I put some natural cacao, and that just gives a little bit more energetic space to create. And then if there's organization that needs to happen around my space, I do that before doing a small workout to get blood pumping and energy going. And then I go into other creation mode, which is if I have certain piano ideas that came up within the week, I focus on just kind of writing up a rough draft. Or if I have a piece that I'm working on, then I kind of organize my time accordingly. Or if I have almost like a deadline that's approaching for a brief that I was just given to do, then I'm going to that. So it's essentially just looking at my calendar, what have I organized, and reassess.
Man, just listening to that, I feel motivated, dude. That's like so much. That's so much just thoughtfulness in the beginning of your day. I do have to update everybody. I've never even said this. I actually have not been drinking coffee for 6 months, actually. So I cut coffee out pretty much around the start of COVID. I just wanted to experiment with it, and it's still a struggle because I still miss it. But I wanted to update everybody on that. It's just something I'm kind of playing with just to see how it feels. So it was a tough one. That is a tough one to give up. But man, your practice there though, the routine that you've gotten yourself into, really focusing on your health and the nutrition. Yeah, you can't lose with that, man. That's such a great way to start your day. Just to, like, you're kind of nourishing yourself first, so that like no matter what comes to you later in the day, it's like you're putting on armor essentially, right? So you can really deal with things in a much more calm and focused state of mind. So that's awesome, man. Thanks for sharing, dude. All right. Anybody else like to share insights or questions, concerns, anything like that? So far, this is going great.
Yeah, I wanted to comment on what Alexander just outlined, because I just looked up energetic development. It kind of reminds me of the Joe Dispenza stuff when we were talking about energy and the way everything's kind of connected, in the way that you hear the expression, you win the morning, you win the day. It sounds like that's what you're doing. I think that's a really important part of this, and what you're feeding your mind and what you're feeding your body are going to dictate how your energy levels throughout the day. So that's really cool. I just wanted to comment on that. And then Jesse, one of the things that you put in the 4 tenets of the Psych 101 was framing, right? And I think one of the most powerful shifts in the mindset and how you approach creating for functional music versus, I have a project, a solo project, but it's not the stuff that I'm trying to get licensed, right? And you shift the mindset from I'm playing guitar, I'm playing piano, to I'm working on music, right? So you're purposefully creating, you're working, right? And you're not just playing guitar, you're not just playing piano. So that's a really small tweak, but it's something that's been, I remind myself whenever I get lost in noodling or something like that, hey, I'm working on music. I'm working on a project. I have a direction.
Interesting. So you're kind of like putting yourself into, is it like putting you into a more of a serious point of view, or does it just saying that to yourself kind of increase your motivation, or what's the shift in your brain that does? Because I've never heard of that. That's interesting, like this delineation between those two.
I think it's more about focus, because if I'm playing guitar and I'm writing a metal song or whatever just for fun, I'm gonna get noodling, and I'm gonna be noodling for 30 minutes trying to figure out a lick or a passage or a riff or a way to, the trail on my delay or something like that, right? So it's that's what it does. It helps you focus and remind yourself what you're doing.
Gotcha. So it's like going back to the project. Like this isn't just noodling time, and there should be noodling time because you should have times where you're just playing around, but reminding yourself this is work time, and so I do need to be crafting something. So once I got the idea and it's working, throw it down, build on top of it, keep going, kind of a thing. So that's awesome, man. I appreciate that, Alex. And how about you? How much of this mindset stuff had you been sort of plugged into before Sync Psych?
All the time. Just I think it's because of I had anxiety in the past and wanted to figure out a way to fix it without having to go and take a medication or something like that. So just making sure the diet's on point, making sure the exercise is on point, making sure what you're feeding your mind is on point.
Awesome, man. Now, likewise, I suffered with a lot of panic attacks many years. Yep. And it's so funny how I learned a little bit about mindfulness back then. I read a book or two about it. It helped. And then later in my life, I had new struggles, but I forgot about the thing that helped me with that. And now I'm realizing it's all connected. It's all the same thing, and it can be used for like everything. One of the members, I forgot who it was, but they worked at a hospital, and they told me that they were doing this for their day job. They literally were going around and trying to help, patients, basically try to, cheer them up essentially and have a better sort of mindset. And they'd been using this stuff. They know that it works because they see it every single day, but they'd never clicked it together to say, I could use this for myself. I could literally program myself towards success or feeling more motivated or more positive. So that was like a cool thing for him to realize that. So awesome, man. Thanks for sharing, Alex. Good stuff, man.
Yeah, anytime. Thanks for doing this.
Absolutely. All right, who's next?
Hi, this is Hans. For me, it was important to just be aware that I'm suffering of that, So when I listened to the Psych 101, there were a lot of points where I realized, oh yes, I don't do that, and I don't do that. And so the awareness is kind of the key for me, because I can't just tell myself now everything is good and just work on it and have the attitude. I need to first kind of know that it's there, and I need to be aware what I'm feeling with it. And so it, over the years, I came to these places where all of a sudden I did not know how to keep on going with what I was doing. And I tried all kinds of things, but it only would go away if I was fully aware that is actually what I'm suffering from. One of the greatest obstacles for me is that I'm right now working into the void. As a former performer, I was playing in front of audiences, and so the reaction was instant, and that was something I had to be. I thought like I could just do that. I could just switch from one to the other and then march ahead. And in the beginning, it felt like that. But then I hit my first roadblock, and we had this move during COVID, and all of a sudden I was completely out of rhythm. And listening to the Psych 101, I just remembered many things. I remembered the meditation. I remembered the mornings, how different it is when I start my day in a different way. And so when I started implementing these things, some of the positive mindset, the morning meditation, I could instantly see how things got better. And I'm not quite fully back, but I'm certainly on a good path in that regard. So thank you for putting the psychology first.
Absolutely. Hans, so much cool stuff you shared there. Just being aware of it. You're so right about that. Like, you got to just see it. that it's there, that there is an issue, that there is a fear, that there's a hesitation, that there's an uncertainty, or there's a, you know, self-sabotaging belief, right? And step one is just, what's that all about? I noticed that, like, and now that I'm practicing this stuff too, I'll catch these just weird little, like, it's like literally a millimeter of a glimpse at something, and like, that's an interesting thought. Why am I keep, and I keep going to that thought. Why is that thought there? If you're starting to catch that in yourself, you're asking the right questions, right? And it's like Hans said, it's not necessarily about immediately like getting rid of it or swapping it out or whatever. It doesn't always happen so quickly. It just starts off though with like pointing your finger at it and going like, there's something there, right? There's a thought there, there's a belief there. And when we can do that, by definition, we distance ourselves from it, because if you can point your finger at something, it's no longer you, right? It's no longer, you don't believe it's a part of you anymore, because you can now, wherever you're at, you're pointing your finger at a different thing, a different thought, a different fear, and you're noticing it for being a separate entity from you. So that's just a great way to get, I always say this, it's like, if you can just get like literally a millimeter of space between you and that feeling, that's like that 1% difference, and that'll set you free, because that 1%, you can grow that to 2, and then to 4, and then to 8, and you can really grow a lot of distance. But Hans is so correct on that like just seeing it is basically getting that 1% difference. You just can see that thing, and that's always the start of the journey, is just being aware of it. And the other thing, I'd never thought about this before, but that's really insightful, Hans, where you said, you know, as a live performer, you would get that feedback instantly. You know, in sync licensing, it's almost never we get actual feedback or a response from an audience, right? Because even if we get a placement on TV, we don't really know if anybody watching that TV show liked our song or not. We have no clue if there's certainly never, I don't think that's ever happened. Anybody did a round of applause for a background cue on a TV show, right? So we're certainly not getting any real public applaud for that. And usually we're not getting even any credit on screen for it. So it is one of these weird situations where you are cranking out a lot of music and putting yourself out there, and you're not getting the applause. And that's what I'm realizing now, that why you do have to kind of get into this psychology stuff, especially for this one, because you got to learn how to motivate and encourage yourself and keep yourself, motivated through those times where you're not getting a round of applause. Nobody cares that you just soloed on that great rock track. There's nobody in the room with you, right? And luckily with Sync Academy here and with this cool, chats like this, we're able to kind of celebrate each other. That's why I really like to put you guys up and say, hey, this student just did some awesome stuff. This student just got accepted, because, we need to do that for each other, because Lord knows the world's not going to do that for us sync licensing producers. But really good, insightful stuff there, Hans, and I'm glad that at least this stuff reminded you of what you already had in place. And I imagine you've done a lot of this stuff in your life that you've been kind of aware of, meditation, that kind of thing, right?
Yeah, I did. But it's also like, getting older, and I realize, I moved just 2,000 miles cross country, and I don't even know how often I moved in my life, and to start all over again, that's kind of, that's really tricky, And so it's also what was really good is that I kept on doing these Zooms with, Sync Academy members. And some of the people that came to that are just became friends, and we share, and we kind of, and I could be honest. I could say, today I'm just feeling like crap. I just don't get it together. And the kindness and support that I found there was amazing. So, I would encourage, because this job is just in front of the computer by yourself. So I would encourage everybody to look if they find other producers, other people that do something similar, and have at least, maybe just a conversation once a day helps me certainly greatly.
That's awesome. And thank you, Hans, for doing that, man. That's like one of the best features of Sync Academy, is that he does these pretty regular Zoom chats with other members. And I think it's such a cool thing that you do that just as a sort of community service, just to connect and let people connect with each other. So yeah, thanks for doing that, man. That's really cool. All right, who else would like to share insights, questions, anything like that? Please speak up.
Hi there, Inoki here. Hi Jesse, hi everyone. For me, the problem is that I've got a routine every day. So from Monday to Friday to Saturday, I've got a routine that I normally do. But the problem is with me before this came along is the Sync Psych 101 is, we'll reach a stage where you're stuck. You know what I mean? You're just stuck. There's nothing. There's nothing to go forward. You're just stuck there. because you've done the same routine every single day, and you're sitting there and you're like, oh my God, what do I do next? Like, and what I've started doing before the Sync 101, the Psych 101, is I normally write words. So every morning I've got, every morning about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, I've got words written as in a sentence about myself, just to motivate myself to continue that day. And it does work. It's hard. I know it sounds weird, but it does work. Like, because I'm telling myself I can do this. I can write new music. I can do whatever. But I agree. I also agree with the other syndicates with regards to fitness and getting fit, and doing that every day, because it helps a lot. And that's just what I do every day. Like.
That's awesome, man. So these affirmations, they're kind of affirmations, or just sort of ways that you're writing down what your intentions are, or can you share a little bit more about what you do with those?
I normally write them down, and I stick them on the wall up here, just on the side here. And I spend a few hours just looking at it and just telling myself that what I've written is myself. So it's all positive words. Because last year I lost my job. So that was quite hard, losing my job. I work in the Middle East, so I lost my job there, and I had nothing. I couldn't work in the UK because of my the work that I normally do. So this was my only choice. So I had no other choice to do this. So that's how I came up with words, and plus I read the Bible. That's another thing. It helps me motivate. There's a lot of inspirational words in there that helps me a lot. So I write them and I put them up on the wall. And I just continuously read them. When I'm really down, I go back and I have a break and just read them. Just make sure I'm, good to go.
That's awesome, man. And you're so right. It is weird that this stuff works. Like, a couple of years ago, actually, what am I talking about? A couple of months ago, I was definitely more on the fence of like, yeah, I guess some of that stuff can make a difference, but you really can't just change your mindset. You can't really just change how you're feeling about it. But it's weird. It feels like it's true, right? It just feels like you can just affirm your way, like literally will your way, program yourself into a more positive, upbeat, motivated state of mind, even when you don't feel like it. And that's the key right there. So a lot of the times I would always do this where, especially like going to the gym, I wouldn't want to go to the gym because I wouldn't feel like working out. And that's what everybody struggles with, right? It's like, I want to get in shape, I want to be more active, but I just don't feel like doing it. I have to go get on my clothes, I have to go to the gym, I have to get in my car, right? Just all these steps in between. And what I found sometimes, and this also works with like depression and anxiety, maybe some more so with depression, but just feeling kind of like, laying on the couch, having one of those days where you're pretty much just scrolling on social media, watching TV, you're not really doing much. You certainly don't feel like doing anything. You don't feel like making music. You don't feel like being active. And what I noticed is that if I can just do the smallest amount of movement towards my goal, usually like literally sometimes it's just like, can I just move my hand? If I'm literally just like zonked out on the couch and I don't want to get up and take a walk, which I know would make me feel better, but I just I can't summon it up. But let's see if I can just move my hand. So I can move my hand. Okay. Can I move both hands? Okay, I can move both hands. And then I slowly will my way into, all right, I can get up off the couch. I can walk over here. So I usually try to find like the smallest little thing that I can do that's putting me on a path towards that goal. And the big takeaway is that my mood follows my movement. So it's not that I feel like working out and then I go work out. I start off not feeling like working out. I get enough momentum with these small little movements to get to the point where I'm just at least going towards that goal. And eventually, because I'm already starting the process of going to work out or going to be productive or creative, my brain just changes and it goes, okay, you're in creative mode now. Okay, you're ready to work out now. So your brain just kind of like takes cues from you. It's not just like your how your body feels is dictating what you're going to do. Sometimes you can just not feel like doing it and start acting like somebody who's motivated, start acting or writing these things down, believing these things. And sometimes your brain will take that cue to go, oh, okay, we're ready to be creative now, I guess, because we're up now. We're at our DAW session. We are taking a walk now. So I guess this is the time we're going to do that. So that was a really crazy thing to just flip those two, that relationship, just reversing that from what I used to believe that you had to be in the mood to be creative or you had to be in the mood to be active. No, you can literally fake your way into feeling active or creative. So that's awesome, man. Thanks for sharing that. Really good. Anybody else have something to share?
Hey, Jesse, I wanted to talk about that visual cues in
Yeah, go ahead, man.
The Psych 101. You talk about vision boarding, and that was something that I used prior to seeing that. I had kind of put some of my vision boards away. I had kept one up, but I put the other ones away. And after I got involved in Psych 101, I decided to get them back out and put them back up where they're visual in front of me, because seeing it every day helps. I mean, I can show you guys the stuff that I do. What I do is I would get magazines and flip through them and find stuff that just speaks out to me, whether it's a phrase like obsessed with performance or come with goals, lead with a plan, pictures, whatnot, to kind of draw a picture of what I wanted my life to be like, how I want to spend my days, what are the goals I want to see, whether it's working out physically, having the right health, financials, goals, and obviously creative goals, and just having that hanging on the wall and seeing it every morning. Like the last gentleman was saying, he writes those words and he looks at them every morning, and he spends some time just reminding himself why we get up every morning to do this. It is important. And outside of like kind of the self-help realm where people talk about just getting a grip on your life, your Psych 101 was the first place I ever saw that technique being put out there for people who are in like creative avenues, to say, hey, this can help you open up those avenues. So I thought that was pretty awesome. And then one other thing I wanted to point out is the biggest epiphany, one of the biggest epiphanies I got in Psych 101 was during the lesson of letting go of your music. When I was the kid, my dad kind of ingrained in me, there's always a better deal. And I gravitated to that, I grabbed it, and that has always helped me with rejection. When one of my songs gets turned down, I was always like, there's always a better deal. There was always a better deal. And I thought, this is great, this is positive, this is helping me get ahead in life. But then I realized it's also keeping me from letting go of my music, because when I'm getting offered a deal, I'm looking at it, and that program is playing in the back of my mind. There's always a better deal. You sure you want to let this go to this library? And seeing that that class, I think Trevor did it. It was a pretty life-changing lesson for me. So I appreciate that.
Wow, that's awesome, man. Trevor, I don't know if you're still here. Are you here, dude? He was with us before, but he might have had to bump off there. But that's really cool, man. Great feedback. I love all that. Yeah, the vision board thing is really exactly how you said it, is when you don't have it, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a physical board that you put on your wall. You can, I think that's probably stronger, but also just having a mental vision of where is it you want to be. So even just literally being kind of in like fantasy land of like, all right, I see myself getting placements all over the place, seeing huge royalty checks come in. This is my full-time job. I'm a respected TV film composer working with some great libraries. So like, let yourself get lost in that sort of future fantasy, because what that does is it gives you energy now. You know, it gives you that sort of pep in your step and that motivation to keep going when things don't feel so good. So, but you're right, when you walk into your studio or your home anywhere and you have that vision board, it's like your blueprint, right? And it's your map. It's like, this is where we're going, and these are our guidelines, and this is what we're shooting for. And when you don't have that, sometimes you're right, you can just get lost and not even remember, why am I doing this? Why am I going through this crazy amount of work and this crazy timeline to try to make this ridiculous thing happen for myself? So having that vision board basically not only makes you feel more sane, but it just gives you that sort of extra, and sometimes it's like a 1% little boost to your energy for the day, but sometimes that's what makes the difference. It's just getting a little bit of something, you know, the wind in your sails essentially pushing you forward. So thanks for sharing those, man, and showing us your boards, man. That's really great that you're doing that. And also, you're right, that belief can be both. I can see it. It can be both enabling, you know, and helping you, feeling that there's always a better deal when you get rejected. But yeah, when you get the offer, it's technically true. There probably is always a better deal somewhere. But you're right. If you just keep saying no to everybody, then you'll never find it, right? So at some point, it does come to a point where you have to make the choice of like, okay, yeah, there might be a better deal out there, but I like this library. I like what they have to offer. I think my music can really be useful for them. let's give them a shot, you know, and you kind of have to, at that point, just make the decision, be comfortable with the decision, and move forward. So that's really cool that you just recognize that, though, right? You're like, that's what this is really all about, is you're just kind of stepping back from those beliefs and going, there's a belief. There's something that's been playing in the background. And it doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to go away, but at least when you have situations where it does come up, you become aware of it, right? And you go, that tape is playing again. Do I want to listen to it? Is it going to help me, or is it going to get in my way? And I think the same thing with your ego. That's why I put that tutorial, or the podcast episode last week about your ego, that I think the ego can do the same thing. Like, sometimes your ego gets in your way because it tells you that kind of stuff. Well, don't sign your music over to anybody because they're going to screw you over, and your music is too good for them, and there's going to be somebody else. So that could be your ego sort of like clouding the fog, clouding your judgment a little bit. But other times, you might not feel very, like you're worthy or like you are going to succeed. And that's when this kind of stuff, mindfulness, vision boarding, that kind of stuff, is basically you're consciously cranking up your ego dial and going, oh no, I'm going to have success, and I'm going to program myself for success because I deserve to have success, right? So people who are not familiar with this, they'll call that egotistical, and that's okay. I just see egotistical as turning up your dial, and I think there are certain times that you should turn that dial up because it is a tool. It can absolutely you can use it to actually get forward and get further in this business. So awesome stuff, John. All right, anybody else like to share who hasn't shared yet? I know a couple of you guys haven't spoken up yet. Daryl, I don't know if you just joined, man. I don't know if you want to chime in and say something.
Yeah, I just joined. I got the message late. I apologize. I missed everyone else.
No worries, man. Did you want to share anything about Sync Psych after watching the tutorials, insights, or anything you've gained from it?
I'm just getting started watching them, but it has been helpful already. I started doing exercises first thing in the morning. I have a couple of visualization videos that I watch on YouTube, and it does really help. I notice, waking up with a different attitude, and at nighttime, I'm not doing the night owl thing. I'm actually going to sleep with a purpose and then waking up with a purpose. So that's what I've been noticing so far. I wake up focused, and I'm more centered throughout the day as a result.
Awesome, man. That's good. Hey, you're putting this stuff into practice, and that's a really important point too, that just watching these tutorials doesn't do anything for you. So you do have to obviously put this stuff into plan and into focus. So that's awesome, man. I wanted to share one thing. Jeff was here, but he had to leave. But he said, I have to run because he had to go to work. The Psych videos have helped me realize I can't just wing it. I need a plan. I need to build positive, productive habits. Yeah, so it's absolutely true that if we don't do this stuff, if we don't use affirmations, we don't meditate, we don't do vision boards, we don't positively visualize our future career, then we're just sort of like leaving our mind open to whatever other garbage and nonsense and probably previous BS and trauma that we've been victim to come in and cloud everything up. Because whether or not we like it, our brains are going to be thinking thoughts all day long. It's just what our brains do. They just on their default mode, your brain just has random. It's so fun actually when you meditate. Sometimes you realize where are all these random, like just dumb ideas and dumb thoughts coming from. Like you don't realize, but like it's just one thought that has nothing to do with the other. They start running into each other, and it's just like wow, like your brain is just so noisy. There's just so much stuff going on, and when we don't like actively start putting new input into that process and start thinking positively about ourselves and start affirming that we're going to do well and that we're going to find the energy and we're going to have the patience and these things are going to work out for us. If we don't actively do that, we're just going to have whatever other thoughts want to creep in there. And a lot of times for most people, it's a lot of negativity and it's a lot of negative self-talk in like, oh, you're not good enough to do that. It's not going to work out for you. This is going to be too tough, right? That's the kind of stuff that, and when we're not even being mindful, it just creeps in all day long and we don't even see it, right? That's the dangerous part of this stuff, is that when you don't even see these thoughts coming in. This is what Hans was sharing before. He probably had a lot of these thoughts just coming in over and over and over again, and it had been beating him down, and he wasn't even mindful that it was another thought. It was just an actual thought inside of a bubble that was just beating him down. And so now that he's just seeing it, now he at least has a chance to defeat it, essentially, right? And to accept it for what it is. It's just a thought. It's just a belief. It's not real. It's something that's going on in his mind. And that's just so powerful to be able to start to reprogram ourselves to go towards where we want to go. And I really want to leave it with this one, that we really can fake it until we make it. It's just crazy, and I still sometimes doubt this, but I just instinctually feel that it's true, that if you want to be a successful professional full-time sync licensing producer, just imagine yourself that you are one right now. I mean, it sounds ridiculously stupid. It sounds so simple. It sounds just dumb. It just sounds really dumb to do that. But it really makes the difference. And I know for myself that the moments in my career where I had that visualization, when I felt, oh, I am a professional, that doesn't mean I have all the answers, right? That doesn't mean that you know how to do everything and you don't have every single answer to every single question. That's not what we're talking about. But literally just believing in yourself that you do belong in this business, that you can succeed, that this really can work out for you. That's the kind of thing that's going to push you through every obstacle, hurdle, the patience, the timeline that we've talked about. And those things are guaranteed. Those obstacles, those setbacks, those points of you feeling like, I don't know if I want to keep going with this, everybody here can attest that's there. There's no getting around that, right? That's not even an option for us. So since that's our reality that we do live in, that we're going to face that doubt, we might as well do all that we can in our mindset to basically push ourselves through that, right? And that's what we can do with this. So even if you don't feel like you're a professional sync licensing producer, you should just start acting like one and doing some of those great things that Alexander talked about, like the morning routine. Now, it might be everybody's routine and everybody's way of doing this is going to be completely different. So I want to make sure everybody's aware of that. I just put a video out on my YouTube channel yesterday, basically just doubling down on that my ability to stay mindful and get into this positive stuff works for me. It's just my process, right? You might find that going for a walk every day for an hour in the sunshine is really your best way to meditate. Sitting down, being quiet doesn't work for you. You want to do an active walking meditation. Great. There's no wrong way to do this kind of stuff. I would just encourage you to A/B test different approaches, right? So try, if you want, like meditation, for example, try sitting down quiet for 5 minutes. That's really, I think, where you should just start. Just 5 minutes. Everybody can sit down quietly for 5 minutes. Even set an alarm on your phone so you can just, all right, 5 minutes is done. And see how you feel at the end of 5 minutes. Were you able to notice your thoughts? Were you really distracted? Were you really calm and present? Were you able to focus like just on your breath or just the sounds around you? And then contrast that with taking a 5-minute walk or a 10-minute walk and do the same thing. Just be mindful, listen to the birds, just notice things around you, you know, if you have birds where you live, but notice just the things that are around you in your immediate vicinity, and try not to get lost in thoughts of the future, thoughts of the past, worries, fears. Those are all things that are dipping you out of the present. They're going to the future or in the past. And then compare those two. Which one did I feel more present with at the end? Which one did I come away with a much more deep insight as to what's going on with my mind? And then you can literally repeat that for everything else, with your diet, with your sleep habits, with your with your affirmations, with your vision boards, with visualizing yourself, with whatever it is. You can literally just like pretend like you're a rat in a laboratory and experiment on yourself and find out what works best for you, because that's how you're going to get to the point where you're doing this stuff and it's making a huge difference for yourself. So don't just go, well, this is what Jesse does, so I'll just do that. And if it doesn't work for you, you think, oh, it's all BS, it doesn't work. Maybe just that particular approach won't work for your particular mind and personality and your whatever, you know, whatever works for you, okay? Well, with that being said, guys, thank you so much for participating. All of you guys that are here with the Zoom chat, I really do appreciate that. And thanks to all of you guys that listened here with the podcast and here on YouTube. I really do appreciate your guys' time and attention. And I do encourage everybody to take this stuff very seriously. I really do think it makes all the difference in terms of people that move on to the point where they're doing this full time and people who bail out. So if you're here watching, obviously you guys that are participating here, you guys obviously are taking this seriously. And so I do appreciate that. And I think that's not for me, obviously. I think that's great for you. I think this is going to really pay dividends for you long into your life, even well past sync licensing, because, you know, the big sort of dirty secret of all this stuff is that even though we are talking about mindfulness in terms of how to succeed with sync licensing, you can go, the rabbit hole is never ending. I mean, you can go all the way down. I think Alexander was kind of talking about that in this conversation about you can get down to the essence of who you really are, which is something we won't talk about right now, but in a spiritual sense, you can dive into some really deep, interesting places and really free yourself of a lot of anxiety, depression, and struggle and pain, and a lot of things that just are constantly an issue for a lot of us once you get further and further down into this this rabbit hole. So in a way, this is my sneaky way of pulling people into mindfulness, is by saying this is going to help you with your sync licensing career, because it will. That's not a trick. That's really actually going to help you. But I think what you'll find is once you get into even just the shallow end of this stuff, you'll realize there are levels. There's a lot of levels that you can go down with this stuff, and it should be like a must-have for everybody on planet Earth. I really do think so. So thank you guys for your time and attention. I do appreciate that. And for all of you guys that are listening, I do encourage you to participate. If you're in Sync Academy, obviously go and watch the Sync Psych 101 tutorials. They are available for every Sync Academy member. If you're not a Sync Academy member, these are the cool, awesome people that you can surround yourself with. These are very motivated, honest, humble, and just energetic people that are going to basically be supporting you on your journey as well. Just as the way that we support, they support me, and I get energized by them. They support, we support them as well. It's basically this kind of community effort to make sure that we're all kind of like in there for each other and just supporting each other in the best way that we know how. So it's an awesome, beautiful community to be a part of. So I encourage you to join us. So with that being said, we'll catch you guys next week for next Friday's podcast episode. Thank you for listening to the Sync My Music podcast. If you enjoyed the show and want me to do more episodes, all that I ask is that you leave me a review on whatever platform or app that you're listening to. It just takes a few seconds. I'll never charge for this podcast, and I want to keep it 100% ad-free. And your review right now will help me do just that. Thank you so much.